Welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. I'm Kristina Liu, along with my co-host Paula Ewell, Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Services for the Aging, and Otto Lowe's co-host, friend, volunteer, PI ambassador. We had a really great first hour of the show, so informative. We had on Cynthia Brown, who was talking all things about the New York Coalition for Transportation Safety and of course, all the issues. And I think, it's something that really hits home for us because New York, has all, it's a big state, but each area of New York, you'll find some kind of stressful traffic, whether it's congested or, or the city, forget it.
Yeah.
Any road.
Or it's just,
right.
there's so, what throughout the interview, it just struck all the major roads that, we're also familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that are so incredibly dangerous.
Even minor roads with stop signs.
Very
and,
true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's all
narrow
very
roads. You ever drive in Brooklyn? It used to be called the Interborough Parkway. It's now called Jackie Robinson Parkway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You ever been on that?
Oh, I have.
I have.
I don't drive.
I will
know
not. Yes,
this.
I would. I have been a passenger many times.
I remember when I first got my driver's license and I went on that road. That was like, man, they designed this thing back when the people used to ride on mules.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that narrow.
Wow.
And yet there,
Yeah.
people will pass
Yeah.
you when you go down through this thing.
Right.
And there's like a quarter of an inch on each side
Right.
for your car, but they still insist on.
Well, I think we have Dan buzzing in.
I'll
on
drive
this.
down there now. I'll
Look
take.
out, Otto. We have Dan
Otto,
coming in.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Most of the roads, especially the parkway system, was designed in the 20s,
30s,
built
yeah.
during the
Cars were certainly
part
different
of,
sizes.
Yeah.
as part of the
Moses,
work
yeah.
program.
Yeah.
You see all the notes like when you go down to Ocean Parkway, 1930,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem is it was built for cars that were that big in those
Yeah.
days.
And they only went 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And they only went 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You take Southern State Parkway is the most dangerous road on Long Island, in
Yeah.
my opinion,
We
because of the curves.
She's so popular in my family. That's what we talk about all the time. I said I'm staying away from Southern.
Well, it's all a matter of what
Yeah.
you use a lot.
My father was a builder. He built roads. He built part of the Long Island Expressway. He built part of the New York Thruway. And he worked with Mr. Moses early in his career. And he would tell us stories. But yes, all these roads were designed,
Yeah.
but the funding came a decade later and the building
Yeah.
would come a decade.
Yeah.
My father, one of his favorite stories was telling me that they just finished a section of Long Island Expressway. And when he came home, he said to my mother, we just completed an obsolete highway
Wow.
because it had been designed 20 years before it was built. And we know what the LA is
Yeah.
like today. So there was not a whole lot of
Yeah.
planning going into building the roads on
But
Long Island.
if you think about it, we've been watching this thing, Kevin Costner, The West,
Yeah.
right? Has been very good. And one of the things that struck me is they had a whole thing about the Oregon Trail. And when the people first went with their wagon on the Oregon Trail, there was no trail,
Mhm.
Right.
you know?
Right.
So they went bumping along and
Right,
whatnot.
right.
And then eventually the trail wore down a little bit and it was just that, a trail.
Right.
You go 3,000 miles on a dirt trail
I
with
mean-
horses and wagon.
You've been to Boston
And
or
eventually that thing
Philadelphia.
become roads.
Yeah.
Well, you've been to Boston or Philadelphia or even
Yeah.
Lower Manhattan.
Yeah.
Those roads were made by
Yeah.
feet and horses.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
why they're
Yeah, we
also
can just say, okay, that's going to be a road.
Right.
It all started back when somebody was riding around on a horse.
Starting to flatten it down.
Yeah, and made it a road.
the roads are unsafe for the types of cars that we drive
Yeah.
today because of the speed. And when you talk about electric cars, you talk about extraordinary weight.
Right.
Like we have a hybrid, and I've noticed you need a lot more room to stop this thing.
Is that true?
Really?
Absolutely, because of the weight of the batteries are
Big
so
one.
heavy.
I
It's
no,
the inertia.
I never thought
You
of
know,
that.
No.
Newton's law, I guess. But this, I was sitting here just railing
Right, right.
because
Silently.
silently,
Right.
quietly while she spoke, because I had
Right.
1,000
Yeah.
questions, all of them having to do with the fact that nothing is enforced in New York State.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And
Nothing.
it seems
Nope.
like she was saying after COVID, and I've noticed that too. I
Yes.
used to see
Yeah.
more people pulled over,
Yeah.
tickets being written.
Yeah, there was a,
Well, because all the money went away. you know,
Yeah.
the grant
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of
That's
these
why I think
programs-
like it's such a complicated issue, you know, and I think Cynthia was saying that too, is that it's so behind, like you're always playing catch up with all these things because it is there as just from talking here, like look at all the factors that go into, you know, traffic safety and pedestrian
Yeah.
safety and then
Yeah.
the road design and then I mean, forget about potholes in the road. I mean, that in
Yeah,
itself,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
doesn't
Oh,
really-
But
yeah.
if
like,
people just drove the way you are
Right.
trained or
Right.
the way you're supposed
but you know what, Dan,
Right.
that's
wouldn't
it.
have
The
those
world just works.
Well, you know,
So many situations.
If only.
the whole world would be wonderful.
No,
I
if
just
people
didn't
just
do
did what they were supposed to do, it'd be a better place.
what came up with Cynthia was laws have to be enforced.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the other one to me is you have to have respect for the law
Mhm.
and other people. And if everybody would think that way,
This will be my last comment.
Go ahead,
because
Dan. You're allowed.
To
Well,
me, it all boils down to what I think is the biggest problem with human beings. We're selfish.
Yeah.
And all we want to
respect
get,
for others.
because we're not
Yeah.
thinking in terms of
The greater
other
than,
people. We're
right.
just thinking of ourselves. I have to
Right.
get there. I have to get
Yeah.
there. I have to do this. I have to do that.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because that's why we have the problems we have. And you could take that across
Mhm.
multiple ideas, not just driving,
Yeah.
anything.
yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a
But
selfish
driving
nature
stands out because you're,
because we're doing it every
We're
day
doing it, so-
and it's very
We're
visible.
doing it with so many strangers.
Yeah.
yeah.
You think about it, when you're out driving, you don't know
Yeah.
all
What's
the-
going on?
But if you think about it, the thousands of people you pass on the road every day, that's pretty amazing. We don't have
More. It's true.
Yeah.
I actually think about that quite often.
because it's
Yeah.
very congested.
Well, you know what, Dan? Because maybe there are some people just doing the right thing out there, you know, just balancing it out for everyone.
My optimistic
Yeah.
Right.
viewpoint
Yeah.
is that everybody's doing the right
Yeah, you
thing.
know,
And
I
there's
think
that
they
occasional
are.
knucklehead that
Yeah.
creates.
Yeah.
But the problem is the
They stand
knucklehead.
out.
Well, it's like a domino effect. Once he does something stupid, a
Yeah.
bunch of people are going to be affected by
Yeah,
it.
they're going to get hurt or
Yeah.
killed.
But even when Cynthia said, which show, because I've seen this occur too, when she was saying, you know, it's contagious sometimes. So
Yeah.
when there's like that one person, and you're like, oh well, if he just did it, I'm gonna do
Right,
it too.
yeah.
Like you'll see like the cars, like all of a sudden you see like
Right.
these little like, all right, well, I'm just gonna do
Well,
the
it's
same
like-
thing, and it
it's
creates
like
all.
littering.
Yes, right.
If
I
you
said
go
this
by
was
a
my
certain
thought.
spot and there's cups there and pot, garbage, it's like it becomes the dumping.
dumping.
That's where we're going to dump
Yeah.
our garbage.
I'm sure every town has one.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you will
Mm-hmm.
have one where it's a stoplight that seems to last forever.
Yes,
There's one here on
it's
Northern,
coming out of our
Yeah,
parking
yeah,
lot at work.
yeah, yeah.
right near the campus. Here
Get out.
I know that light. I know that light oh too well.
on campus here on
Die.
Boulevard, there's a light just like that. And there's no turn on red
Mhm.
and
Yep.
you can only make a left.
Yes,
turn.
I know exactly.
And
what
you
you're talking
sit there long enough, some knucklehead
You'll think
is
it's
gonna,
broken.
is gonna
Yeah.
take off.
Broken.
Think it's broken.
Right.
And then you're right.
They also
Yeah,
I sit there and wait because
Yeah.
I know that damn thing's
Right,
gonna,
right.
eventually
Yeah.
gonna come.
Right.
But you watch people just fly through
Yeah.
the red light.
Right.
I'm just,
Right.
oh
You know,
my
but the
gosh.
thing, I think the problem with like the camera, the the camera lights, if you're trying to obey them
I know.
and you can see you're not going to make it across and you start to slow down and come, the person behind you,
Yep.
there's so many times
Right.
So
you-
true.
and we have to go like,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
you see a light's gonna, people know this is a red camera light. We can all get tickets, or someone's in ahead of you is just going to stop short in the middle.
Yes.
You're just like,
Tailgating.
oh my
I do
God.
think that that's probably, you know,
That's
and I'm not an
me.
expert by any means,
me
but just from my observations, you know, the tailgating issue is definitely
is.
because, you know, that is what
At high speed.
causes
It's
that.
driving 101.
Yeah, it's
like
just,
three
just in
car
general,
lengths.
you know,
Yeah.
Well,
it's like you so much could be avoided
Right.
by
Well, I
Yeah.
call those
Space.
road bullies, all
Yeah,
right? They are just
totally.
bullies
yeah.
who they were in a car.
Yeah.
So they were a bully
Right.
in a car.
Right.
To me, it's that simple.
Yeah.
They don't care.
But I think
They're going to
even
push you
more
out of the
people not
way.
bully, just to do it in like an
Yeah.
unconscious
No,
way.
I
They
agree.
get
I agree with you.
to your
I
car.
do. I
It's a
think
weird feeling. You see it coming.
because as Cynthia said,
Yeah.
you know, it's like one of those double-edged swords things because, you know, she was saying like, you know, she doesn't tailgate, but since she's not tailgating,
The
cars are
behind her,
constantly
right.
cutting through
Right,
her
right,
because there's too
right.
much space in there. So it's like you just have to, and I think the overall message
You
is
have to
it-
keep
you
your
have to
cool
be-
because otherwise you
you-
get into
and
a
you
road
just
rage.
be aware
Yeah.
of, you know, everything that's going on others, you know, and, you know, I mean, it's the infamous line, like, you know, I trust you, but like, I don't trust everyone around you
Right,
driving, you
yeah,
know, so it's,
yeah.
it's really
But don't you
something
think
that
some of this technology is also going to make us lazy behind the wheel?
very
Yes.
well, you know what? That's such a good point too, Dan, because I think about that also. With the backup cameras, I think they're great, and I'm all
They
about
are
those.
terrific.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
do
You still have to
think
turn your
people
head.
don't, yeah, and I actually consciously make an effort because I do, there are times that my backup camera will have water on it from the rain,
Yeah.
and it'll be a
Right.
little
Right.
distorted or blurry, so you're not
Even
really
just
Sure.
changing
getting the
lanes
thing.
on the highway,
Yeah.
though, you
Yeah.
have to turn your
You
head.
have
Right.
That's one of the things I found with some of my older friends who can't turn their,
Yeah.
who don't have the
Right,
range
yeah.
of motion of their neck anymore. I says, dude, you shouldn't be behind the wheel of a car.
Right, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're
You can't look.
you're gonna take out a motorcycle in your blind spot, or you're gonna.
Yeah.
But I have all those cameras. I said, those cameras. Now you're distracted looking at the monitor
Yeah.
for those cameras, and you're not looking
Yep.
ahead.
Yeah.
What if somebody
It's
stops
very
going
true.
ahead of you? So
true.
it's like the technology.
It's true.
Like I like the stuff that tells me, like with these long distance trips, I'm taking one today that tells me I've drifted out of the lane.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually pulls me back into the
Yeah.
lane this
Yeah.
car
Yeah,
we have
that's it,
now,
yeah.
which is wild.
I know.
Or if I'm going too fast,
Yeah.
I can set the distance I want to be from behind somebody, and I will either speed up or slow down and keep that exact distance. What
that's
the worst part about that technology, and I learned this in the last trip, is that I set it fairly far because I don't want to be too
Yeah.
close, especially at 70 or 65 or
Yeah.
70 miles.
And it goes off.
Somebody comes
Yeah.
in front of you, cuts in front of
That's
you.
what's-
All of a sudden, your car goes,
Yeah.
"Whoa,"
Right. Yeah.
and it's like slows down. You don't
The
hit
same
no,
thing.
you don't hit him. You
Yes.
just slow down
Yes.
really fast.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy
The same
moly.
thing happened in my car because I remember I was on the phone with my husband and this is the first time I knew I had this feature, is when somebody cut up and it was like a pre-collision alert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
she's
yeah,
like, "What's
that's
going on?" Because all of a sudden you're like, "Beep, beep," and I was like,
This
"I don't
happened
know."
to us.
I was just driving.
Michael thought the car was gonna blow up.
Some knucklehead cut you off.
Yeah.
And the technology did what it was supposed
Yeah.
to
Right,
do,
right,
which
but
is great, but it startles you,
it's-
and all of a
does.
sudden the
The
car.
brakes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right,
yeah,
right, yeah.
But it does it itself.
Yeah.
That's the
Takes a
thing.
lot
My
of-
car
yeah.
doesn't tell
Yeah.
me to do it. It
just
just
does
does
it.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can be very disconcerting,
It is.
but I'm also happy
But when
because
you're in the roll,
Oh yeah, because at least it's some kind of
When
backup,
this-
right?
this-
It's like,
Yeah.
but
because
But it's
after
slowing
tailgating,
down.
it's the jackass who's weaving,
yeah.
Yeah.
who's the other knucklehead that you want to.
The
You
word.
know,
without any signal, at a high speed, I mean, we can go on and on.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's something that's so, prevalent here. We're in New York, where
Yeah,
there
but-
are a bazillion cars on the road.
Yeah.
We're not, I laugh when I go to the other places and it's like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
I'm in the wild, wild west. There's like no cars on the road.
I think the message is really that it exists.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about
Right.
these people because there's a little something going wrong
right,
with their head.
Right.
So
right.
what can you do about it?
Yeah.
Basically try
the
to
drive-
get
yeah.
cool,
Yeah.
try not to get
Yeah.
PO'd because
Yeah.
it's very easy.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, no, I'm like you. I talk to other drivers.
Oh,
as a
yeah.
driver.
Oh, I'm
I don't
talking all the
like
time.
When I talk to them, like,
No, I
oh,
do.
dude, you don't need to use
Yeah.
it.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
right.
Yeah.
I
I
do
have
that.
Dude, you need
Yeah.
you need to cut me off.
I do
You know,
that all the time.
Right.
I say, oh, they didn't.
Yeah,
write
it's
it
your way of
down with the
coping,
signal
You're a
light."
very
Instead of-
person.
You just like, you just like
Well-
talk it out to them.
Well, like
your
you're
imaginary
here on a
partner.
red light and there's a car on the other side of
like-
the red light.
It's like you
Now,
must be a
wanna
very
make a
important
left,
person.
but does that car want to go straight? Is it making a turn? What's it going to do?
Yeah.
It can't.
Yeah.
I just put the signal on,
Yeah.
no matter if I'm by myself, there's no other
Right.
cars.
There's no other cars around. You do it.
I
I
just-
do it as a matter of.
It's like it doesn't.
like
It's
no
instinct.
instinct.
It's just
So
automatic.
It
And
requires-
that's what I think, it has to become, and that's
it's
the
not like
problem.
an option, like you
No,
just
no.
use the signal.
Because I'll be drive around my neighborhood, right, and it's quiet. And I'm, no matter what, I'm like, and I'm going to my driveway, I'm turning my signal on to like show I'm turning
Yeah,
my
but
driveway.
it's the guy who gives you the signal after he's already cut you
Well,
off.
that's
Like,
that's
what are
that's
you doing,
also
dude?
that's also a epidemic going on. Certainly is the after the quick directional, but
I think from the senior perspective,
Yeah.
I mean, we've had car fit now.
Yeah.
Project.
no, and that's why
Fit,
that's why I asked them too about these educational seminars, and of course shout out to our wonderful mobility manager Shari Baton, who
Yes.
obviously if you live
Every
in Town
day.
North Hempstead and you're a Project
Get something.
Independence member, you can call 311 and
Well-
Shari can talk to you about giving up the keys, pedestrians. I mean, there's so many different presentations she's able to do.
Yeah.
Well, you know what
it's
was
important.
interesting is the topic we were going to talk about with Cynthia before was about older people driving and giving up their car.
Right.
And we really never
I
got
was
into
gonna say,
that.
I was trying to get in there,
Yeah.
and then I said, no,
But
I don't think,
I,
like,
I do have some thoughts on that because I
Yeah.
do have a situation where there's some family involvement with
Yeah.
that. And it hasn't been so far an issue.
that's good.
And I believe the reason is that it was discussed early and when there was
Yeah.
not an issue.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying to
got ahead
anybody
of
who's
it.
listening,
Yeah.
maybe in that situation,
Right.
the
Start to
earlier
get
you
there.
start to talk about it, the better.
No, that's like with chat, and
Yeah.
like that's what's nice about having, a mobility manager.
Like
Like,
Sherry.
'cause she can
Yes.
get involved, and
She
it's,
really
and,
puts it in
kind of give
one-on-one.
you the tools.
Close
how to-
families.
Yeah.
We have assessment
Yeah.
tools. We have guides how to talk to people.
Because it's hard, and I get, and I
hard.
want to always be very clear. It's a very difficult thing, and I can imagine. Unfortunately, when you live on Long Island in
Yeah.
our area, it's very difficult to not have transportation yourself. And
Yeah.
and I know what it was like for many, many years. I couldn't afford, when I was young, a car. I was sharing a car with
Right.
my mom, and
Yeah.
it was like, you were not having that luxury of just going and
Whenever you
doing
want.
what you
Right.
wanted. I
Yeah.
mean, and now I'm like, someone
yeah.
just take me. Who wants to
Right,
drive
right.
me around? I'm
Fine.
I'm a great passenger.
Right.
But I do think, it's tough, but it's so incredibly dangerous, and that's something I've mentioned on this show too. Like I dealt with my grandpa, and he for a long time, and you have to kind of work on your own pace, right? So my grandpa stopped driving, but refused to get rid of his car for a long time. So we're like, all right,
Okay.
we'll let this car sit in the driveway. You want to keep the car in the driveway? We won't. It's not taking everything
Right.
away at once.
If I really were wallowing in money, the
Mm-hmm.
one thing I've always said to
Just get a
myself, is
driver?
I would have a chauffeur.
100%. That and the Chef Otto. Those are my two. I talk about it. I try to manifest it quite often. I say it all the time because
Nice big car.
I love.
Right.
Sit in the
I'm
back
telling you, there's nothing I love more than, when
with a really good
my
truck.
fabulous mom gets me a town car quite often for, with these little concert excursions I go on with my
Yeah,
friends.
well, your big excursion.
Right.
And it is just, I was like, this
Wonderful mom
is
gets
my
to make
right.
sure she
Yes,
gets the
because,
cars.
she wants me safe, obviously, at all times. And it's just such a lovely thing. And I said, if I was rich, I would have this on hand, would just
Yeah.
be someone to drive me around
Yeah.
all day long. Otto. So if you, whoever comes rich first,
And
we'll
maybe
help each other.
even a chef.
You could
We'll
share
share.
one.
Yeah, we'll share.
You share- yeah,
Yes,
right.
we'll share our
Sure.
chef and our chauffeur, Otto. That's what
I
our.
can dress myself. I don't
Right.
really
Yeah.
like you look at these old English things
Right.
and the lady helps them pick out
Yeah,
the
the
clothes to
clothes.
dress. You have to get water. I'll get the water. They don't do anything.
Right. Yeah.
No, that I don't.
That would not be
There you
good.
go. I like that you're
You
thinking
can
about
cook
these
for
things.
me and you can.
Me too.
throw-
Otto,
So
yeah, I'm telling you. That's why I know
Yeah.
Otto and I are quite similar. We want these same rich people list things.
Yeah.
So,
But I think with Sherry, I think, people should know that anything transportation related.
yes,
You can
she's
call
we
Sherry.
call her the
And
travel
she
guide of the
really-
town.
Tell you
The
what,
mobility she can help with anything. Yeah, that's great.
I'm gonna take a picture of that,
Yeah.
Otto.
Yeah.
Otto is holding up anyone that's not watching us on video, who's listening on
function,
radio.
yeah.
It's a book called "Are You Concerned About an Older Driver? What to Do: A Guide for Drivers and
New York State
Caregivers."
Office of Aging.
But on that
Yep.
note, we are hopping on to another break. After the break, Paula, Otto, and I will continue talking about what's going on in the town of North Hempstead. You're listening to Project Independence, and you talk of the town on LIU Public Radio.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
What's a podcast and how much does it cost?
so I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
I see, but where can you find good ones?
and I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
Oh, that sounds easy.
and then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence, and you talk of the town on LIU Public Radio. Let's talk about what's going on in the area, in the town. Of course, we were talking prior about our prior guest in the first hour. So if anybody missed that, you could always watch Project Independence and you and Talk of the Town on North Hempstead TV, channel 18 or 65 on Optimum, and channel 46 on Verizon Fios. Also on North Shore TV, and of course on the WCWP YouTube page. So we are everywhere, and you could certainly subscribe to the podcast as well, Project Independence and You, on your favorite podcast provider. So there is no reason not to be educating yourself on all this, and that's my favorite part. And I love having the show on a Friday too, because it brings me into the weekend, and then I'll just tell
Right,
everyone.
right.
Well, I'll be talking about transportation safety this week.
Those are
and I feel
magic
so
words,
sorry.
by the way, educating yourself. All right.
Yeah.
I happen to have a cousin who's not doing well at all. And I went to see my cousin yesterday, and long list of problems, all right? They both had problems, him and his wife. They never got a handicap sticker.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about that either. That's
Yeah.
important.
No.
Yeah.
B, they never thought about a medical alert system. There's a whole long list of things that
Yeah.
they never thought about.
Safety, yeah,
So what I'm saying is they never educated them.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
when you get into a crummy situation,
yeah,
you can try to make it as painless as possible.
yeah,
And you can't remove it all, but you can
Right.
definitely make it a little better,
right,
you know.
yeah,
But like I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, this is my cousin. They don't know anything,
right, yeah,
you know.
But it's something that we talk about, and that's why it's difficult. Because you said you could only bring a horse to water. You
Yeah.
can't make
Yeah.
them drink. Another Otto quote, and I do. It's like I struggle with, right? Also because it's like you're like, oh my God, why are you not prepared? Especially you, Otto, who we said if everyone was like Otto, they'd be in business. But that's why I think it's important with a program, like Project Independence, that you can call and kind of have this as your safety blanket,
absolutely.
in North Hempstead, and we try to get out there and educate you as much as possible because hopefully it seeps in,
Yeah,
and some
it's in your
people
back
and
pocket for when you
Yeah,
need
and
it,
it's-
you just give
and it's just to like think about, and that's what we would say even with our circle of support, like that tool in itself is all about like you don't have to fill it out, but it alerts you to what you makes you think about certain things you might not have thought about. And listen, nobody wants to think about a lot of these topics,
Well,
certain things.
just happened to look, I sent a text message to their daughter,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And in there, I mentioned the first two things, and the
Yeah.
next one was the wife is driving my cousin. She's in bad shape. She's
Oh.
got her own problems.
yeah.
They don't have a handicap sticker for
Sticker.
wherever
Oh
they
my
go.
gosh, so she's parking.
So I said, well, did you look into any kind of medical driving service?
Right,
Like
yeah,
here,
yeah.
we have, thank God, Project
Mhm.
Independence.
Yeah.
No, they never thought about it. They never looked
Yeah.
at it. So I told their daughter
Yeah.
to look into it because I'm sure
Yeah.
It's
this
gonna
is
come up,
a
right?
city area.
Okay.
I'm sure there's
They
something
must have some, like an able.
in there
Yeah.
that does something,
Absolutely.
right? But no, they don't do that.
Okay.
And then the other one, frankly, was another one that's pretty simple, and that is the walking to the bathroom was a big problem. I said, they have things that you can have where you can put it right over there in the
Yeah.
corner,
Right, yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
And the fifth thing was he goes up the stairs, hopefully he doesn't fall, to go to because the bathroom downstairs is a midget
small.
bathroom.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very
Yeah.
small. So I said, you could look into a chairlift.
Mhm.
Yeah.
None of this was ever thought of.
They on Long Island or?
No, they're not. They're in
So
Queens.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
rebuilding Long Island may be able to,
Yeah.
sometimes they can help, widen the doorway,
Yeah.
but,
No, they're in,
although there's a
Queens.
lot of services.
In the city,
I know,
yeah,
but
true.
th-
They have.
But it's
but
like
they didn't
seeking
know
it out,
anything
right.
about it.
Yeah,
I
think about it.
frankly don't
Yeah.
know anything
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said their daughter
Yeah,
should look into this.
Yeah.
She's old enough.
yeah.
She's in a
Well, that's the whole point of circle of support too.
Mhm.
You have all this ahead, you have all these resources.
But I mean,
you know.
the point was when you said educate yourself,
Yourself, yeah,
that was like to me, I'm saying to myself, man, that's
Yeah.
what they should have been
Yeah.
doing.
yeah,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's right, because that's the key to so much of this, and that's
Yeah.
what I said is the best part of the show is hopefully that the listeners and the watchers, take kind of these little golden nuggets with them and utilize it because I do think it's a problem, and with older adults, driving, I just think and just this is just the facts,
Yeah.
you get your license, let's say you as early as what 16, 17,
17.
18, whatever it is, who knows, a little later, I don't
Right.
really know what it is.
Some people. a little
I'm
later.
like, what is the age you're supposed to? But so picture you got your license then, and then now you're
That's it.
still driving well into
Right.
your
Right.
your 80s, 90s,
Yeah.
and
That's what I
your
was gonna
body
ask.
changes.
I was
Like
gonna
so,
ask
it's,
Cynthia, because I'm pretty sure some states.
they.
at a
I think
certain age-
Florida is what I
I
could
think
be
below
wrong,
40
but
you
yeah,
might be you have to take the
right.
driver's test
Yeah.
again.
Well,
And
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah, it's
just like when you have to go to renew your license or even
right.
but you have to have a basic, just like you have to pass the vision test to get your
Right.
license. It's like the most basic thing that
I know.
like it's a refresher. And I mean, obviously it's a state based.
I guess it's like them. I'd love to know what
you
the
want to have
reason.
to keep
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to take your driver's, but I think
But at
just
least one
least
time or something, right?
yeah.
At least one time.
well,
yeah.
there are, and I understand, but I do not have any specific answers, and
Yeah.
I have talked to Sherry about
Yeah.
it, and we haven't really come up with a
Mhm.
specific answer, but she told me that in this book, there's
Yeah.
information
about
about where you have to get reevaluated not necessarily a formal driver's test, but a
Right.
self,
Mhm.
Oh, a self-assessment, like an
Assessed.
assessment. Yeah,
of your driving ability.
yeah,
You know, like if you get lost and if you,
yeah, yeah,
you know, uh,
yeah,
but there are programs around
yeah,
apparently
yeah,
where they will assess your
Mhm.
capability. And,
yeah.
um,
Well, usually if you're in rehab or you're, if you've had a stroke or you're getting rehab, that's something they should be doing in occupational therapy.
automatically.
Or yeah,
Yeah.
like if the plan is for you to drive after discharge, the
Yeah.
occupational therapy, and most of them have in the gym, a simulated, car or driving or some version of what they have to be
Yes,
about.
I remember a fabulous, shout out to one of our wonderful, the founder of the radio show, Jerry Parrotsman, who
Yeah.
was very involved when we had a pedestrian safety committee,
Yes. Yeah.
and he worked like alongside, Sherry talking about stuff, and I remember I think Cornell had like a car simulator situation that you were
Mhm.
able to
Sounds
kind of
like it.
test,
Yep.
your right.
Ability.
Yeah,
That
was
ties in
definitely-
with this, which is what I found. AOTA.
Yeah, that they did
And
carpet.
that's
They actually
NYU.
sponsored carpet, I believe.
Yeah,
go around.
NYU
Yeah.
Langone
Yeah.
apparently has a
Yeah. They're doing
simulator.
restrictive. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a question too. All these
which would be
transportation
good,
things.
frankly, to
I would call
firm
311.
up a little bit.
Yeah.
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 Well, and Sherry might even have more information on these things because I know that she's more in that world of transportation kind of issues, and so I would definitely call 311.
But this thing here, I think a lot of people would make use of if they
They
knew,
do.
Yeah.
About it.
you know,
Yeah.
the caregivers would
Yeah.
make
Mhm.
use
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's
So
such
it's
an
tough.
emotionally
It is.
tough
It's and I
topic
get it. I
for
understand.
children and caregivers, I think most people don't want to give up their keys, even if
Yes.
it's been
Right.
assumed
I'll
they
be-
should.
I'll admit,
I
man,
think,
I will have a big problem.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I happen to be
Yeah.
fortunate. I golf, I
Yeah,
bowl,
yeah.
I,
Yeah, because your
you're
world
like, love and go.
I have
Yeah.
to drive to these places.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
So it's definitely tricky, but that's something that we're there to help with counseling, with Shari, with working through because it's not a one step, okay,
Yeah.
give me the keys.
Right.
It's definitely a process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So call 311
Right.
or 516-869-6311 to, get in contact with Sherry about any of these transportation stuff. I want to remind people about some great shows that are coming up. Next week, we're going to have on PSEG Long Island talking about energy efficiency tips. Which I'm sure will be helpful considering that we are approaching in the warmer weather AC, bills.
Yeah.
And that's always, when the bills get a little higher around the house. So they will be on talking about that. We're having on the Fair Housing Justice Center, which I'm really excited about. This came to me actually through one of our Project Independence advisory members came up to me after a meeting and said that she had actually put in her husband. She lives in an apartment, and it's very difficult when you live in an apartment because there's a lot more regulations and you don't have access to certain programs because you don't own, the place that you're staying in. And she needed a stair lift for her husband, a chairlift, and they were able to help get it in and connect her with it, and then they'll remove it. So it's these really wonderful things
Yeah.
that I was not familiar with. So I'm really excited to learn more about everything that
Yeah,
they
it's great.
do. And that's June 13th.
now
Yes.
that they do that at no cost.
So I don't quote me, and we'll ask them, specific, but that was her particular situation.
Yeah.
Maybe
There was
not.
no cost.
Right, okay.
Her, but I don't know based
that
upon
may
what her
help your
financial,
cousin.
yeah.
Is, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Again.
Yeah, I don't, right. I
the-
don't, we'll get all the information from them because I'm unfamiliar with,
Yeah.
frankly, everything. I just heard this from a PI member.
You know, a lot of these things do come down to you have to want to be able to do these
Yeah,
things, like
yeah.
get a
Mhm.
chairlift.
Yeah.
Some people, nah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or go to main floor living, like we've talked about a million
Yeah.
times. Bring everything you need to one floor.
Yeah, but a
Not
lot
the
of
basement.
the houses,
It's not right.
No, I know.
especially in
know.
like
Yeah.
Queens.
I
or,
know.
North Hempstead too. There's a
Yeah,
lot of,
yeah.
not everything, it's
tricky.
tough. And
Yep.
the walkways are narrow. And, I remember even in my own house when my grandpa, would come over, it was like, we were so nervous. He had like a walk, like, is he gonna
Yeah.
go through the door, the
Yeah,
bathroom,
yeah.
the car, so it's
well,
really
our
tough.
bathroom is not wheelchair friendly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not wide enough.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
There's a lot
there's
of
it's
things.
stuff to
Yeah.
add it on the to-do list, right? And then on June 27th, we're going to have on Dr. Linda Lee from Northwell Health, who we had at our advisory. She's going to talk about gut health, the gut health connection, how your gut impacts your overall well-being. She was absolutely wonderful. So I'm really excited that she'll be on the show. And then on Talk of the Town, Councilwoman Marianne Delamonte will be joining us to give us some updates about what's going on in her district. So all great variety of stuff coming up. And I'm well into scheduling other shows. So if anyone listening has any great topics of interest, you can certainly call me at 311 or 516-869-6311. For any of that. Otto, I heard that you had another scam update for us.
Well, this one
that you
I'm
were
not
gonna give us.
I'm not going to tell you I'm an expert on by any means,
Okay.
but there was a big article in Newsday about 10 people, I believe, being scammed in buying houses that they didn't know were in foreclosure.
Oh
Now,
my
they bought
gosh,
them from the same people,
it's awful.
and I believe these were people who might have had a language barrier,
Mhm.
and they got sucked in, and they ended up with a house that they didn't own. And they had big problems. And as I say, I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
Right.
All I'm saying is if anybody gets involved with there was no title search, nothing involved.
Oh, God.
So if you get involved with something that seems like it's a real good deal as far as buying a house goes, think a little bit more
Right.
about that, because it might not be the house that they own that they could sell, because
Yeah.
it's in foreclosure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and there were 10 different houses involved. So it's not like,
All right.
That's
Oh.
terrible.
so you,
Well, thank you, Otto, for that update.
yeah,
on it.
as I said, I'm not an expert on that at all. There was a whole big, long,
Yeah.
It's certainly important to be
Be
aware.
aware of it.
just be
Yep.
conscious.
Yep.
Yes, that's
Yep.
right. It's just, be aware. Be aware of certain. We said be mindful, right? That's what we like to use. Be mindful of these different situations. We have so much coming up in Project Independence. I want to remind people that we have 2 additional Smart Van, which is our senior mobile access to resources and technology partnership that we have with Family and Children's Association. On Tuesday, June 3rd, they will be making a stop at Fushillo Park, and on Tuesday, June 10th, at Port Washington Adult Activity Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And this is really a great
No
place
appointment
to,
needed.
no appointment needed. You just come with your, your device or your question, and they're so helpful. They sit with different seniors for so long. They were just featured on News 12 not that long ago. Really just about the wonderful service they're doing. And we're talking about technology. It's in our world.
Right.
It's certainly in all aspects of things, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So you're best to become familiar with it, right, Otto? Because it's certainly not going anywhere. So I just wanted to remind people about that.
I think a big thing to me that I've witnessed with technology for older people in particular is a lot of times we grew up in a world back when where I've had people say, well, write that, like I won't even name who it was, but anyhow, they'll say,
Yeah, it almost came out.
they'll say,
We almost put them on blast right on the
But it-
radio.
could you write that for me? How do you do that on a 3x5 card?
Right.
I say it don't work like that. All right. There's no 3x5 cards. This requires sort of
Go through like
a logical process. And I think when people get past the fact that there's no fixed way and everybody has the same issue,
Yeah.
you have to chop your way through it sometime. There's just some basic little things you have to know, like this arrow in the corner means go backwards.
Backwards.
There's a certain number of tools
Right.
that you do have to know, and then you're on your own.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a fact.
Unless you work with Kristina.
I'll try and
My
fumble
Well,
my
you
way
can have
through
your
it.
guidance counselor. Well, that doesn't hurt.
No,
I mean,
right.
The truth is, don't be afraid to reach out
No.
either. Like my grandchildren use Snapchat.
Snapchat.
All right, which I was using for Wordle. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm now on Snapchat with the family.
Look at
Wow.
Otto.
Because
It's
a
so
lot of
Gen Z. of
I've
you.
walked away a little bit from Facebook.
Right.
All right.
Why is
So they went to Snapchat from Facebook. All right. But and then Instagram came into the
Yeah.
equation.
Right.
So while I got
Know.
this thing, they made me emoji.
Good. I like
Yeah.
that. As you
Of
should.
me.
Love it.
Of you.
Snapchat.
As you should. I'm gonna look you
Oh, we
up
want to
after the
see that
show.
next
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
good.
then,
Don't
but then
persuade 'em.
Instagram, like you're on
Yeah,
Instagram a
yeah.
lot of times, and I go to Instagram, and I really didn't like Instagram because it's like it comes in, it goes out, and it's gone, and that's the end of it.
Right.
I really
You
like.
want to save the picture, you can't save the picture. There's like basically you
yes.
can't do much.
Yes, I
All right,
understand.
but there's a few things like if it has dots on the bottom, means there's more pictures.
Yep.
Right.
All right. Okay.
Right.
Good.
The little,
If you like it, you see this heart over here.
Right.
You hit the
Hit that.
heart.
There you
All right.
go. I really like this like
Right.
bullet list tutorial you're giving. I'm really.
I mean, there's some basics that you
I
can
really
get
like
into.
this.
this heart for?
Yeah, right.
I really like.
Is that what they look?
But he super nailed it really good. He's like, listen, there's a heart there. There's 3 dots here.
It's a dot, go back,
arrow.
go front.
But Facebook was like the item at one point, and
Yes.
now it seems to have petered out.
Never.
And there's a lot of different things on there that have absolutely nothing to do with your friends
Yeah.
and there's people trying to sell stuff and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
changed some.
Do you have a TikTok, Otto? Is the true question.
TikTok is annoying me to pieces.
They want. They're trying to get you.
Yes, TikTok is every
They're trying to get Otto.
TikTok is everywhere. I don't want TikTok. I put on Facebook, I said there's like another dot thing
Right.
up at the top. Tell TikTok to get lost.
Well, you know what?
Are you on TikTok?
Of course, I'm on TikTok. Are you kidding?
You're-
I love TikTok.
Okay.
I can
Are
spend
you-
hours
you're
on
not
TikTok.
I'm not on
You
it.
can spend hours.
Oh my gosh, I will sit there for a long time.
See, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Oh, it's fun. I learn a lot. I constantly. I love I have a really great algorithm.
So
too.
you really like TikTok?
I really enjoy it.
You recommend it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Now, do you have to be on TikTok with other people?
no. So I don't post anything on TikTok. So
You
I'm
just
just a
watching
voyeur. Yes,
information.
Yeah, you just.
I'm just
look at
yes.
See, I like AI now for that.
Mhm.
You have a
Love that
question.
too. I love it. I love
You
that.
have a question like ChatGPT.
it. Right.
It will give you some pretty good
Answers.
answers.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we are taking another break. Paul, Otto, and I will continue talking about what's hot in society. We'll make that the overall thing. And the town of North Hempstead. You're listening to Project Independence, and you talk of the town on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence, and you talk of the town on LIU Public Radio. We're going to talk about what's coming up in the town, and whatever else comes across
This
our
is our
desk.
last segment.
This is I know it's our last segment. And before I forget, I have to do something before I dive into the town because my best friend, my soon-to-be sister-in-law, Amanda, it is her birthday today. So I'm going to wish her a very, very happy birthday
Happy birthday.
to
Amanda.
my best
Right to be.
my
Now, how
best-
old will Amanda be?
Amanda turned 33 today.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Get-
Nice. Yeah. Right. One more. Right.
Yes.
Right.
I'm like,
No,
how?
because 33 is a good age.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take it. There
I'll
you go. I'm
take
gonna
it.
tell, and I'm going to tell. I'll take it. I will take it.
40.
That's right. That's right, Dick.
Right. No,
Tell,
don't forget
that's
that.
right. The perfect age. You guys
Tell
all
you what,
swore to me that was the best.
Whatever
age.
age, I think whatever age you are is the best.
I think I'm going to go.
Very
I'm gonna go
wise.
with you.
Right.
That's-
Right.
that's
Right.
Look, we keep it simple, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal of the day.
The KISS method. That's stupid.
I want to let people know too that our Wellness Wednesdays is still going on. There's cardio drumming that our Otto is a part of. There's one more on June 4th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m.
I
It's
will
so
encourage people.
Yes,
to-
go ahead, Otto. Give us a little
Well,
bit about cardio drumming.
First of all, cardio drumming, you're really not going to come out of there totally exhausted or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But it's more of it's like there's music and you're playing the drums with music and they got Marie and Andrea
Yeah.
who are kind of like trying to orchestrate how you're going to
Right.
do this, but you don't have to do it perfect.
Right.
So there's a lot of movement
Right.
involved.
Right.
You bang on a
There's a lot
pail.
of freestyling. When I walked by the glass, there was a lot
Well,
of freestyle.
it's
movements
actually
going on.
fun.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's fun and you're playing the drums, which I like. I could never had
Yes.
any
Right.
drum training.
Right.
Yeah, but I happen to like the drums.
Right.
So I'm just saying it's fun and it's kind of
And it's
worth
light
doing.
and it's social.
Yeah.
Just gets her,
And
relax
I
a little
think it's
bit.
a great soundtrack, I must say,
Yeah, like,
to
very fun.
to cardio drumming too. I got to hear like a lot of the music.
Disco.
Yeah,
I'm
there
picking
was a
up like
lot. Yeah, there was a
little
lot of
disco
fun
there.
things
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, I mean, and you sit there basically with a pail that has a big ball on it,
Beach ball. Yeah.
and you have two drumsticks,
Yeah.
and you sit in a chair. And some people, actually, two ladies this past week, got up and started dancing and
Oh.
Yeah.
You
Could be
have
a little
drumsticks.
too. Yeah.
And there was another
Right.
lady that was more or less doing her own thing.
Thing.
Yeah, that's what
There's no,
it's up for interpretation, which is
you're not
nice.
like being
That's the-
analyzed,
No.
Yeah.
but it's good. It's fun.
Yeah, so that's something that and it really is fun.
Taking
And
it on the road
yes,
too.
so
bringing
hopefully
a
we're
couple
gonna
different
over,
night-
in
nights.
the next year and stuff, we'll be taking it on. But it's really a fun program, and I'm so glad because it reminds me of on our show when we had the founder of the cardio drumming movement from Germany, who that was really fun during COVID. That she got to zoom in and chat with us. So
I would like to try to figure out how to do this with my family sometime.
I 100%
go.
could see the low.
I was thinking I might come
when
by
you do your
and
little
borrow the beach balls
do your your family
balls.
trip
and
over
Oh,
the summer. I
yeah.
think the Los is get some beach balls.
now, do you deflate those beach balls?
No.
No, because it was.
Yes, because
it-
they're
it
a
wasn't
little
easy to
thicker.
inflate them
than
all.
our
I would
regular
have to figure out how to get
Yeah,
18
everyone can
beach
inflate them.
balls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, now's the time.
Inflate
Listen,
them.
Down New Jersey.
I was I had to buy a bunch of beach balls recently, and
a car or a
Yeah.
van.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
These are like a little heavier.
Yes.
There's like lighter plastic beach
Mhm.
balls, but I think for this you needed, it's like a thicker material.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You really
they're
need
thicker.
a
So it was harder
little
to.
size, so it makes some noise.
Yeah.
And
That's
the
true.
Or Otto, you could just freestyle it and make your own drum set.
Yeah,
No one can,
yeah.
you can drum on whatever your heart desires.
I would have to get the pump.
Right.
Well, you know what? I could.
Because
got
otherwise,
some pumps
seriously, I would have a problem getting 18
Yeah.
Yes, it's.
balloons.
Yeah. Beach
You know what, Otto? I will loan you my balloon pump
Yeah.
because I have one in
There
in
you
the
go.
in the garage inventory. I will
Sells.
pull it out for you. The
I
thing.
think we would have, I need to
I think it
borrow
would
the
be
drumsticks. too.
Yes.
And they're really inexpensive.
Yeah.
The drumsticks. You keep your own, right? Do you bring them home with
No,
No,
no. They
you? You just leave them there?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, they're collected. I mean,
Oh,
which
yeah,
you're going to
yeah,
use them every
yeah.
week. So
True.
But really fun, and Otto, I'm glad that you are enjoying it, and you really do see everyone laughing and smiling. I love going by there, and I'm snapping pictures through the glass
With
window
people
often.
from,
But it's really a great program, and that's what's fun about Project Independence. Everyone, our social workers or nurses, are always trying to do a new kind of program or what's of interest, and this was something that one of our nurses, Maria, brought to us, and we said, let's
yeah,
get
basically you're sitting there with drumsticks banging on a big beach ball
right.
and a pail.
Use it.
And now they added a new one this time.
Right.
You hit the back of your chair also. So
About gentle movement. It's
Yeah.
it's
yeah, the
moving.
object is sometimes you're
Right.
just moving your arms
And
like this,
coordination.
Yeah.
Right.
going,
Yeah.
you know.
Because you know what it is too, and I'm also, and Otto and I have talked about this before too, is that we're both not gym people, but we do like to be active and find things. And I
Yeah.
do like, for me personally, I need to be having fun
Yes.
in what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
some
Right,
people
right.
love to go to the gym.
They love it, and I
Kinda
want to be that
thing.
person. I wish I was that
Right.
person,
Yeah.
but I'm not that person.
No,
I've
not.
accepted it.
I mean, I do have a routine I try to do,
Yeah.
and I really have to struggle to get
Yeah.
myself
Yeah.
to do it.
Right.
I'm being honest. I mean,
Oh,
I,
it's right.
I find it boring.
Yeah.
That's
I'd
what-
rather do other things.
Things.
I'm only
me too.
doing it for 15 minutes.
Yes.
And it's,
Otto, I'm telling you, it's really scary how frighteningly similar I am with Otto, because I had the same thought in my head, and I was like, I'm like, you could just do it. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. There's so many other things I could be
walking
doing.
is different.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's fun,
walking,
right?
yeah,
But I
that's
think
the
that
best.
that's my, my message
that-
is find something that's fun.
It's fun.
Find
Do
something,
it.
right?
Then
Because
you
some
wanna
people
do it.
going to the gym is fun for them, and
Yeah.
power to you.
Well, they-
But this is, I think what's nice about cardio drumming is you have that music, and I think that just makes it, already starts the baseline fun, because
everyone there
everyone's
just smiling.
laughing and smiling, and
Just watching people
Yes.
bang a drum
It's
is
just
funny.
It is. It's true.
Not living at them,
The
but
simple pleasures, certainly.
Well,
But
yeah, here you go. This is an article in Times.
oh,
yeah.
4 ways to trick yourself into taking a walk.
oh, I like.
Okay, read
I
that.
really want to hear this one,
I'm
Otto.
only going to give you the highlights.
Okay, give me the highlight reel.
Well, let me get to
All right, you just keep scrolling. But while Otto is scrolling,
What the hell happened?
also part of Wellness Wednesday on June 11th, we have
Well,
our Project Independence Advisory Committee. Up, did you find our highlight reel?
Yeah, you can. I'm working.
All right, you work on it. You give me the high side when you're ready. This is our last one. For we take a little break over the summer, so I encourage everyone to come because we're gonna have a really great speakers. We're having Wendy Goydell and Connie
Oh,
Wasserman,
yeah,
who are
wonderful.
on our radio show, who were absolutely wonderful. And they have this concierge care coordination. It's really all about how elder law and social work
Okay.
has joined forces. So that is June 11th, 10 a.m., Clinton G. Martin Park. You could also join us virtually as well. Anyone can come. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Otto. Take it
Okay,
away.
you only, it says you don't have to do 10,000 steps a
Okay,
day.
like that?
4,000 is quite
Yeah,
adequate.
Yeah.
Cool.
You go out and you want to go and you want to do a sound stroll, which
Oh,
means
Sound stroll.
you're going to walk, but you're going
gonna
to
listen to
really
what's
focus
around
on
you.
sound.
Right.
Okay.
Birds,
Not like music.
Pause.
There's like the
Yeah.
sounds
no,
around you.
no,
Right.
No
right.
AirPods.
no AirPods.
Okay. All right. Sound stroll.
Um,
I could do. I like how it sounds.
Yeah.
Write
Okay.
it down, Otto.
You're going to take a calendar challenge. You can snap shots of, yeah, okay.
Oh, this.
You walk around that, let's skip that one.
Wow. I don't want to
do that.
Are you telling to take? Is he taking pictures?
Well, the other one is
Yeah.
you walk and you count things, all right? You count like how many mailboxes there were that you couldn't see. Or,
Okay.
you know, you
You were
pick
just
something.
driving. Right. Right.
OCD and lose their mind.
Right.
kinda like-
Right.
Well, it
I
depends
Spy.
on what would motivate
Right.
you.
It's I Spy.
Yeah, it's
walking.
I Spy.
And you
I like
also say, okay, I'm going to go out and look for everything blue.
Right.
That's
And
fine.
color.
I'm
Yeah.
down for that. This is like games I play in the car.
You're going to take, you're going to look and you're going to say, I'm going to take a picture of things that are different.
Right.
Like I happened to yesterday.
fun.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm walking in Tully actually, and I see a big pond with a bunch of birds washing themselves. in the
Yeah. Oh,
pond.
that's fun.
So I watched that, and I'm thinking to myself after I read this article, I should have really taken a
Yeah.
picture
Yeah.
with
And then
the
you were
birds
Yep.
flopping
Oh.
around in there.
Yeah.
So
Yes, I like this challenge. See, this is my
think
kind. Now
we
you're
should-
talking my kind of language of like an
Except-
activity.
Maybe
yeah, like,
September in our
basically
advisory.
anything, as it said, to trick yourself into
Right.
walking.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you a motivator.
Yeah.
Sounds like an article for the,
Sounds like
Right, yeah.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Otto sent me that. I really,
You're right.
Yeah.
That should be.
I really like that, and I'm going to do it because that's kind of what I do anyway. You know,
Right.
without the name of it.
Right. Right.
I'm
You're
like,
tricking yourself. Right. Right.
Yeah. But I'm a firm believer, and but it goes back to that is fun for me. This might not be fun for someone else, but this sounds like a great time for me. So thank you, Otto, for sharing your hot tips.
Well,
on
and then frankly,
trick
you
yourself.
could do a thing with friends. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
out loud.
there you go.
Right.
He's brainstorming.
Yeah.
Compare the pictures that you took.
Right.
Yeah.
If you got some,
Really.
Or flower.
I love
I
it.
had a friend who took pictures of flowers from the beginning of the spring to the end. So
Love
watching
that.
them bloom.
that's
That
the
was
other
pretty.
one was
Candles,
calendar.
like
Oh,
Had to do with calendar,
calendar,
and it
just
had to
like
do
the
with things like
season. Yeah. So
flowers,
get beautiful.
changes.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
okay. I like
Yeah.
it. Then you could just
Things,
scrapbook
yeah.
it at the end. You
Right.
know what?
That's a scrapbook.
You could do a
It's
whole
all about the scrapbook.
presentation. You can have a
Need
whole.
another scrapbook.
Book, no.
There you go. Please don't. I'll find a way. But I think that is really fun. And you're right, Otto, because you can do that as kind of
Oh, and
a
yes, and
activity.
at Tully town, there was a farmer's market.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
Otto, when he's referring to, because there's a bunch of farmers market.
Yeah.
Well, this is the one in Tully
Yes.
every
so
Thursday
every Thursday.
from 10
And I
a.m.
believe that was the
2
first
p.m.
one,
That
actually.
started already?
Yes,
Today was the first.
it was supposed to start last week, but then it rained, so then it started.
Well,
this week.
it unfortunately for the people who were there yesterday,
Yeah.
rained again.
in the morning it was also raining. But I got there at 10 to 2 when it closed at 2. I was just scouting really.
How did it look?
It looked fine. It looked
Good,
good. Like I
good.
would buy something the
Good.
next time I go there.
Yeah, we should
But I was going to
promote
walk.
that. Yeah,
I
and
didn't feel like
yeah,
buying anything and
Yeah.
walking. And I didn't have a car,
yeah.
you know.
It happens. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I'm trying to find my papers, but I currently can't find it.
About the farmers.
Well,
market.
there
yes,
was
we
a
have-
list of who the people
We
were
won.
that were,
Oh, that were there?
yeah.
Was there any
I'm
by
trying to
chance
remember
that
where I saw
was
the
bread
list.
by any chance?
I saw the list somewhere.
Probably on the
Um,
town
I'd like to
website,
know.
I would
Yeah,
think.
so I'll actually look all that up
Yeah,
because
there is a list of
I
who
certainly
the
want to check that
people
out.
were.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, you could buy lunch there. There was like
Oh, that's
pizza
really
and
nice.
all
Yeah.
kinds of different things.
And I found my free thing.
So you guys could do like a
Yeah, just
Project
thinking,
Independence field trip.
well, we're
we might have
we're
to.
looking at.
Well,
a
what
walking
on
program.
July, which is very exciting.
And
it
On
is
July,
quite-
pickleball while you're there.
wow, Otto's really promoting Tully. On Wednesday, July 23rd, we're in partnership with Long Island Cares and PSEG Long Island. And this is also going to be at Tully Park because I know I've been getting a lot of phone calls. People are a little confused about certain things, but this is free. Okay, everyone listening,
food is
free
free.
for seniors.
The food is
Wednesday,
free.
July 23rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Michael J. Tully Park. So it's for seniors. You're able to get a bag of fresh, free produce
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that
yep,
day.
yep.
Yes. But that is only
big
for this
event.
one day. It's not for the other, this is sponsored by, PSEG and Long Island Cares. So
Yeah.
they're doing this for our seniors. So I was,
Yes.
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 yeah, I was really
They did
excited when they,
Glen Cove, I believe. At the
Yes,
they
mhm.
did in Glen Cove last year, so we're
yeah, it was
very
really,
excited to.
it was a
get- yeah.
fun email to get,
Yeah,
that's what I said.
yeah.
I love
Free
and
food?
doing this show
Right.
and doing all like communication stuff for our department because like when they reached out to me, I was like, is there a catch to this? I was like, is this,
Right,
and
yeah.
I sent it over to Paul
had
and
a
Kim. I was like,
bunch
"Oh
of
my God." I
meetings.
was like, look, we have a food pantry.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's a great free, once again, farmers market for seniors, Wednesday, July 23rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Michael J. Tully Park. Put it on your calendar. Otto, and you can just walk right across the street,
Yeah,
get
yeah,
that bag.
yeah.
You're right over there.
Mm.
So really, really great stuff. And
Could
as
throw the produce over the fence.
there you go, Otto. I could help carry it over to your house with you. What just reminded me, because I was just reading from it, we have an email newsletter that comes out once a month. You could call 311 to sign up if you have an email address, or even if your daughter has or your son, whoever has it,
Yeah.
and if you do not, I could also mail you a hard copy as well of this, but it gives you every month what's coming up, and there's so much. It
It's
seems to get
wonderful.
bigger
Yeah.
and bigger. So you could be expecting the June one to be coming out pretty soon. So just got it in my inbox. I
Oh,
will
good,
be reviewing
good.
it
Yes,
when I
yeah.
return to the office. We also have, our social discussion group, our men's group. We have our Golden Hearts bingo and blood pressure screenings as well. There's still some Fridays at Yes We Can dates available going on. A lot of these programs will take a short little break, but everything's different. You could always call 311 to get information about that. On June 12th, we have PSE Long Island is doing an assistance programs with the consumer advocate over at Magnolia Gardens
yeah.
from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Really all about how to different programs are available, how to manage your energy costs,
Yeah.
which is really, there's just a lot out there. And
There's a
it's
lot of savings that people
But
aren't aware of.
I don't even, and every
Like,
time I go to one of
Yes,
these
it
programs,
really, there's programs that
Yeah.
are very helpful.
and
Yeah.
rebates and all kinds of things, and certainly different income like qualifications
Yeah.
as well.
No, it's a whole other
But they
topic.
meet you
It's
one-on-one.
coupons.
Oh, coupons.
Oh, coupons. No, we don't want to do coupons.
I'm not good at coupons.
I'm
No.
pretty good.
I'm good at like
I'm
good,
pretty good.
good RX when I can save $50 on a prescription.
Wow, that's
But if
good.
I'm going to go like save 28 cents at Burger
I
King.
do it.
Not, right, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not good with a paper coupon. Electronic
Electronic
coupons,
coupons,
I
yeah.
am a rock star. So like I have, and I'm the queen of it. And my friends laugh at me and my family because like I refuse to. And like before I purchase anything online, you better believe I'm looking for a promo code somewhere, and I will find that code.
Really?
Like I am like so good at it. I've really mastered it. I have to give myself credit.
Give us a little insight here.
So I'll go to all different sites. So
How do you-
so let's say like I'm ordering something on, let's say Macy's, all right? So I'm going to look for Macy's, and obviously certain stores will have their own kind of offer codes, but then just generally I'll just Google, Macy's coupon code or something, or promo code. And then there'll be different sites that pop up. I even have an app on my phone that like Retail Me Not, that I that's usually my go-to, that I'll type in the store and it'll show me, different codes. But you have to be an investigator because there's all
to put
different,
the effort
there's
in,
because
yeah.
there's certain sites that'll give you, and like, it's like, and by chance, it can't hurt. So I just
Right,
said it
right.
takes 5 seconds out of my
Right.
day.
What if you're an Amazon buyer?
Well, that's not
That's- yeah,
really
they don't really-
because
yeah,
they're like
think-
all, you
You
know,
can't
that's
get
not,
any.
yeah. Unless, you know, but you have to always pay attention. This I will tell
Okay,
people.
their outlet.
It'll say in very fine print, you know, redeem 10% off by checking here.
Yeah.
So make sure you
Yeah.
check there because there's a lot of times that I have.
If you set up
Yes.
a schedule to buy
Yeah.
it, it's cheaper.
Yeah, I know. They try to get
They
me
give
many
you
times
right-
with my dog stuff, and I was like, I think I'm just spending.
Yeah,
Right,
schedule.
yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
No, it was. I had like, you know, these bones for my dog coming on schedule, and I was like, this just seems astronomical.
Right.
What am I doing? I was like, cancel. Where am I putting this? But yes, and listen, I think like with these apps, get the app, you know, get this. I'll give a shout out to CVS's app because I go through there and I'll on my app and it'll show me all my rewards and promo
And it
codes.
reminds you, you have
And
X days
but
to
you
use this.
add it to your thing.
Yeah.
So this way it automatically comes off. You don't have to remember a paper coupon or anything. I use that at all supermarkets. So I am to save some money and it adds up. Because
Program maybe we should have.
Yeah.
Like a Wednesday, bring someone in who could explain
Yeah,
how to do it. Yeah, you save money.
It's worth
You
it.
could
And it's
even do it.
easy.
You could probably
Just
run.
gonna say,
Yeah.
wait.
It's easy enough because like I said, you could just do it in your downtime. Oh, look at Otto looking at the clock.
Oh,
So
me too.
impressive. Dan, give him a pat on the back for that.
Right.
I want to thank everyone for listening to Project Independence and You Community Talk Radio. I want to thank Paula and Otto, of course, for joining me and just informing the public. And Dan Cox, thank you so much, our Wizard of Oz behind the scenes. Next week, join us again for a great live show at 10 a.m. on LIU Public Radio. Goodbye and have a great weekend.